and we have the state's next witness on the stand. We get to place him under oath. A couple of things that were raised just before the break and mid-break. Ms. Byrne, your officers indicated that he may need to leave at 4. He asked me, but it would be
Yes.
entirely up to you.
Well, are we going to go through to 5 p.m. today or later?
Correct. We will go through just to 5.
I don't think that I'll need you today.
So, if he may be excused, that's
That's fine. If you don't think that we'll get to him today, that's
I
fine.
honestly don't think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll be starting back up at 8:45 in the morning.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Tripolini indicated that, he saw Tyreek in the bathroom.
Okay.
That, there was a brief exchange of, statements, but it doesn't sound as though anything,
That's fine.
would have any, impact or create any bias or anything of that nature in this case.
That's fine.
Okay.
It was a respectful encounter.
Yes, that's what it sounded like. I appreciate that, but I just wanted to make sure you were aware that there was a communication.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, are we ready to proceed? Okay.
Yeah.
So, officer, if you'll raise your right hand, do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just make sure that microphone's not too far from you, okay? Thank you.
Hi, can you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Yes. My name's Officer Aguilar. My last name is spelled Aguilar.
And how long have you been with the Tucson Police Department?
I've been with the Tucson Police Department for approximately a year. That including my my training at the academy for the 25 weeks and FTO training up to now.
Can you describe your training?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I did 25-week training course through the Southern Arizona Law Enforcement Academy, and shortly after I completed a FTO program with the department and graduated in December 2022. During all that, I went through the training that every officer goes through, learning ERS and procedures and protocols. Shortly after that, I was assigned to ODW Team 2. Operations Division West with Squad 5, and where my primary functions were as a patrol officer, and includes responding to calls and various other things.
And have you been with them throughout?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And were you working September 26, 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember being dispatched to an address on Prince Road?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember the exact address?
Not the exact address. I know it's an apartment complex on Prince Road.
Do you want your report? Your
Yeah,
letter to
I
official?
would love it. I believe in the report, though, I wrote the wrong address.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was during training.
Oh.
And I think I had like
All right.
every.
Well, you were on Prince Road?
Yes.
Apartment complex?
Yes.
Was it then and is it now within the city limits of Tucson?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember the approximate hour that you were dispatched there?
Not the approximate hours.
Morning, afternoon, night?
It was close to afternoon.
Okay. So, would you be familiar, if I showed you an aerial view
Yeah,
of the
definitely.
address?
Definitely.
Okay. So would this be the address that you were
Yes.
called on?
Yes.
All right. So can you kind of describe so when you're dispatched, is that through the radio?
So it could be through the radio. It could also be you attaching to the call.
Mhm.
if I remember correctly, they called, when the call came in, they asked for a, long gun operator, which is a rifle operator. My FTO at the time was a long gun operator, so we attached to go help out, with that portion.
Okay, so you know that you are on your way to Prince, do you know why?
I believe it was as far as we knew, it was shots fired or a suicide
Mm-hmm.
call.
Okay, so when you get to the address on Prince, are you coming from the west or from the east?
We're coming from the west of the apartment complex. We entered through the western entrance all the way to the back to where the apartment.
So can you
complex was
show
located.
on the aerial view where the apartment complex?
Sure, if you could scroll up.
Yes.
Is it okay if I stand?
Yes, please, thank you.
Your picture is
Well,
big enough.
actually, it's cut off. So the
Okay.
apartment complex will be somewhere back
Okay.
here.
Hold on, all right.
We can go to Exhibit H for him if you'd like it.
I
but if
don't
we
have
could-
it down. So you were all the way at the back of the property?
Yes.
Okay, and you came from this west, entrance?
From this west entrance right here.
And did you know which apartment number to go to?
We didn't know exactly,
Mhm.
during FDO training. Do you want me to talk to the mic?
If you can, that would be
Yes,
best.
so I didn't know exactly, during FTO, they basically kinda, it was my emergency phase, so I have to get
Mhm.
us there as promptly as possible.
Okay.
I knew the general area,
Mm-hmm.
I got us to the general area and parked off and basically started looking for work at that time.
Okay, so what happens then?
We get there, my FTO gets ready and sees where they want him to post up. I start looking for work, and at that moment, I believe we were supposed to canvass the area to see if there was any like forced entry to the
Mhm.
apartment. And at some point, I was assigned to talk or get a statement from the property manager, and I was talking to her.
Mhm.
From then on, that's where I met Mr. Tripoloni.
Okay, and.
I did not know his name at the time, though.
Okay,
Yeah.
but you do recognize the person you spoke to at the time as the person sitting here in the courtroom?
His name.
And can you describe where he's sitting and the color of his shirt? I'm sorry, Judge.
Yeah, he's sitting right in front of me wearing a black polo
At the
and jeans
defense table?
at the defense table.
Your
Yeah.
Honor, may the record please identify.
The record will
Thank you.
reflect that Mr. Kirkland, the
So-
defendant, is in.
Thank you, Judge. How many officers are called to the whole complex? Do you know?
I do not know when it's, as far as I know, when it's a serious incident such as that one, as many as attached can show up. After that, depending on how the investigation goes, some officers will start leaving per whatever the sergeant recommends.
Okay.
At that moment, we were just trying to secure the scene as best as we could, and started taping around the areas, or had officers taping the area. I wasn't sure as to how many there were there.
So when you say secure the scene, what's the objection? Like, what's the intent behind securing the scene? Does that mean the whole complex? Does that mean just the immediate area of the apartment?
It varies. At that moment, we were just taping off as much as we could, as far wide as we could at the moment. Sometimes during the investigation, whether we find some more, how do you say it? Sorry, my words kind of like escape. When we find more evidence
Mhm.
outside of the perimeter that we set up, sometimes it might grow, sometimes it won't. It just depends on our sergeant.
Okay. And then you mentioned that you talked to the property manager?
Yeah, I was
How
talking
did
to her.
is she the one who called, do you know, or?
That I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I
And-
was mid-talk when, I met Roy.
Okay, so without telling me what she said, can you describe her demeanor?
She She was pretty distraught, it seemed like she knew the victim at the time. Her voice was kind of cracking. She was kind of unsure of like what happened. She was doing her best to describe how she knew the victim and what had happened, and at least what she knew about it.
Okay,
She wasn't happy nor dismissive about any of that.
okay, and she did indicate to you that she didn't know the victim personally?
She didn't know him personally, but she was definitely aware of him.
Okay, alright, so I'm going to play a portion of your body worn camera from that day, just in order to lay foundation. Can you tell me when you, recognize that it is indeed from that day?
Immediately.
Okay, how do you know?
It just passed, but the parking spots,
Yeah.
yeah, we're heading over there, Palms.
Okay. And then, let me just, I'm, for the record, playing 8 minutes, 30 seconds.
And what exhibit is this, please?
That is an excellent question, Your Honor.
It's gonna be exhibit B for mine.
1,
Exhibit one. Okay.
yes.
Okay, states exhibit one.
So, Your Honor, for this, exchange, it's exchange between Officer Aguilar and the property manager. She was subpoenaed, she's unavailable. The state would like to play it on, either present sense impression, and it will be obvious once we see what she says, why it is, present sense impression.
I'm gonna object to it.
If not, the state argues it is not hearsay because it's not for the truth of the matter, it's for the, impact on the officers later that day.
Okay. It's hard for me to
I
rule
know,
on this
but
without seeing it.
I just
so-
thought it
It
would
calls
be
for
fair to,
speculation.
to say it. I mean, if there were a defense attorney, I just didn't know.
So, let me go ahead and see it.
Okay.
I will rule on whether I'll allow it or not, and as the trier of fact, I'll be able to separate out if I'm going to consider it or not, if I determine that it's hearsay or not.
So I'm playing 8:25 to 9, total of 35 seconds. Is he still your body worn from that day, do you know?
Yeah, that's mine.
And who are we seeing over there with their back to the body worn?
Officer Chandler.
Oh. Do you remember this person?
Yeah, she's the property manager. She's the one I was speaking to.
Okay.
But he's this private property, and don't want him to relax. Yeah.
So this is all private property, you don't want them here?
Yeah, yeah, it's private property.
Get her out of here. Oh, this way.
So that Officer Chandler actually not knowing she's the property manager and asking her to leave?
I'm not sure whether he knew or not, but he was asking me to like move away while she was talking to me, or at least have her escorted away from the cameras.
Okay, so Your Honor, the purpose of these 30 seconds is to establish that it is the property manager who asked to remove the defendant from the property, that's all. She saw them, she didn't know who they are. I'm happy to play it again, I don't know who they are, this is private property. Officer Aguilar asks, do you want, is private property, do you want them away? And she's like, yes.
Can we verify that she's the property manager?
Hold on. I'm not gonna find that that's a presence and impression or,
Okay.
some kind of excited utterance.
I do not think it's excited utterance, these are 2 subsections, and I specifically look at present sense impression.
I understand, so I'm not gonna allow present sense impression because she appears to be engaging in an interview, and also to find that it's being offered for the truth of the matter asserted as well, so then it would be hearsay.
Well, the state would argue that it's not for whether they were or were not, on the property as trespassers, but it is what she told the officers, and that is what triggered the officers' state of mind in order to ask them to leave, if that makes sense.
I'm gonna object to that.
I think that still goes to I mean, she's offering for the truth, she's requesting that they leave. And
She did request that they leave, yes, that's the whole point behind it. It's not whether they were trespassers or not, it's her request of the
I
officers.
understand, but it's still offered for the truth, and she's requesting that they leave. So, I'm gonna find that that's hearsay.
Okay.
Without bringing her in, I think it's hearsay.
Okay, so, Officer Aguilar, I'm going to play, 19:30 to 19 minutes and 30 seconds to 2012. If we're gonna watch it, then if it's okay, you can tell me what was going on exactly.
Okay.
Hey man! Hey man! Come with me, bro. Come with me.
So who are you talking to? Do you know?
I'm talking to, I believe his name starts with a T. Tariq?
The victim?
Yeah, the
Okay.
gentleman without the shirt.
And he's on the left?
He is on the left, yeah.
Okay. And what are your intentions when you go over there and, hey man, come with me, what is it that you're trying to do?
Just de-escalate the situation, get him away from whatever's going on right there.
Alright,
I'll just talk to him. Are you good? Can I talk to you over here? Just one right there.
Yeah, but he's not gonna come out here while I got my kid here. This is already the third time that we've had law enforcement here. So, the shit that's going on here, I don't need this motherfucker coming over here yelling and shit, saying fuck the pigs, this and that, you know what I mean? Aside from me working law enforcement, bro, this motherfucker's causing a scene, you know what I mean? So he can, regardless.
so that's your conversation with the victim, correct?
With Tariq, yes.
Yes, and what was he referring to? Did you have a discussion with him prior to this interaction, or is this the first time?
This is the first time I ever see him.
Okay, and why were you, talking to him?
The whole thing that was going on right there, I was just trying to de-escalate. I don't know if they were fighting or what was going on. I was just trying to see like what happened. That's when he starts explaining something about prior incidents, and his kid was inside, having some kind of like breakdown. Apparently his kid is autistic, according to him, or has some kind of disability that was causing him to panic inside his house.
And why were you running? Because it looked like you were engaged in conversation with somebody else, and then suddenly you just took off and you were running to these people.
I was just trying to get there as fast as possible.
Do you hear anything, or what alerted you to go?
I personally don't remember what I heard.
Okay.
I did hurry there, it's just, it was such a long way. I believe a little bit before that, I just saw Tripoloni run, and Sarge told us to just go.
And when you say Sarge, who do you?
Sergeant Dial.
Okay.
And I just went.
Okay.
We're just referring back, I was
Yeah.
in training, so I just go places.
And do what they tell you?
Yes.
All right, no more questions for Officer Aguilar, Your Honor.
Any cross-examination, officer?
Yes, absolutely. Do you have firsthand knowledge of me knowingly entering or remaining unlawfully on any real property after a reasonable request to leave by a law enforcement officer?
Not me personally.
So you have no firsthand knowledge of me trespassing?
I believe Officer Chandler did mention to you that.
You personally, sir?
Me personally?
Do you have first-hand knowledge of me knowingly entering or remaining unlawfully on any real property after the reasonable request to leave by law enforcement officers?
You were requested to leave.
Okay, do you have any first-hand knowledge of me knowingly entering or remaining unlawfully on any real property after the reasonable request to leave by law enforcement?
You knowingly know.
Okay, thank
I
you.
believe you said you went to go visit a friend.
Okay, on your body camera, Officer Kimona confirmed that the manager let the family in and they already knew that there was a suicide present at that apartment that day. Is that correct?
Officer Carmona?
Carmona, correct.
I don't think I ever spoke to Officer Carmona that day.
2 minutes and 55 seconds into your body cam, Officer Carmona confirmed that the manager let the family in and they already knew there was a suicide present, correct?
I was talking to Sergeant Dial, and he wanted us to go check if there was any forced entry.
Okay. You recall Chandler coming up to me saying, "You can record, you're just gonna have to stop you right there."
I don't remember that.
No? Do you have any first-hand knowledge of me making unreasonable noise that day?
No.
I've got a lot of questions here. I think that almost sums them all up. Do you recall when April Binder, you were speaking with April Binder here in that video you just watched. Do you recall her stating, "I'm going to my office"?
Objection, hearsay.
Okay, sorry. I'll reform the question. You can strike it from the record.
Okay.
Did April Binder inform you that she was heading to her office?
Objection, hearsay.
Shit.
So,
Sorry.
questions that ask what another person said would generally be hearsay unless there's a specific hearsay exception that may apply.
Okay. Did Officer Chandler wave her the opposite direction she was walking?
So you can answer that question, it's an observation.
I believe so, yeah.
Did he walk her in a direction that would go right in front of my camera?
I believe they went behind a vehicle.
If she were to continue towards her office, would she have been out of the camera's view faster?
I don't know where
Objection, speculation.
Okay.
her office was at the time.
Okay, where are the victims for trespassing? Are they present?
Did you mean the property manager?
Any victims for trespassing? Is there any victims present for trespassing? And are we discussing trespassing or disorderly? Where am I going with this, with them?
You can ask him questions that go to either charge.
Okay.
It looks like, we have.
They were victims for, mostly the disorderly. The trespass was towards the apartment complex.
Well, I would like that the trespassing gets dismissed if there's no injured party present.
Victim doesn't need to be present here.
Victims don't need to be present?
Well, what do you do in the murder investigation?
Do I have the right to face my
Hold
accuser?
on, let me decide.
Sorry. I'm just trying to figure out where my fight's at here, that's all. I'm not sure what I.
You can ask him questions as to either of the charges and
Okay.
any information he may know about them. Whether or not the state is able to prove all of the elements of the charges is what I decide at the end.
Okay, all right.
And they decide which witnesses they wanna call to attempt to prove their case. Okay?
All right, thank you for the clarification. Officer Aguilar, is it true during our attorney interview that we went over your supplemental narrative and we came to the conclusion that it was not truthful and accurate?
No, there's just grammatical errors.
What was your answer?
No, there's grammatical errors.
So during our questioning, when I asked you, is your,
Objection, hearsay.
okay. During our, I'll
You can
reword it.
rephrase the question.
All right. During our attorney interview, did I ask you if the address on your report was correct?
Yes.
You can answer.
Is the address on your report correct?
No.
So is it safe to say here in trial that the first two lines of your supplement are not truthful and accurate to the best of your knowledge?
Just the address, for the most part.
So is it truthful that in your report, the first 2 lines are not truthful and accurate?
The address.
Okay. You stated in your report that Officer Chandler then moved April to talk with her. Is that correct?
You have my report, but that's correct.
You have in your report that Chandler made it known multiple times to both males that they were requested to leave the property upon April's request. After refusing to leave upon April's request, Officer Chandler placed subject number 1 in handcuffs. Is that truthful and accurate to the best of your knowledge?
First, April binder is stricken, so unless he opens the door, in which case I'm happy to replay. And second, it's hearsay.
So again, any statements from April would be hearsay.
Can I approach the witness and just ask him to tell me what's truthful and not truthful on his report? This is his own supplement.
You can, sure, you can ask him what is accurate or not in his report.
That's all I was
If it's
getting at.
Other people's statements, we can't get those in because that would be hearsay.
Gotcha. So in your report, it states that Chandler made it known multiple times to both males that they were requested to leave the property. Is that true?
It fits in my report, yes.
So you're stating that this is true?
It fits in my report, that's why I wrote it down.
Okay, is your report supposed to be truthful and accurate to the best of your knowledge?
To the best of my knowledge.
Okay. Can I find that on your body cam, that Chandler made it known multiple times to both males that they were to leave the property?
Objection.
Is it gonna be on your body cam? Is that a better way?
Fine. I mean, either it is or it isn't. I don't understand the purpose of the question. We can play the body one, there's foundation, or is it like future impeachment? I'm just like,
So,
Okay.
I think that unless you have a section of the body worn camera that specifically disputes what the officer's saying, that there's no point in time in the body worn that Officer Chandler advises you and or Mr. Brown to leave, that would indicate an inconsistency in the report.
Okay, all right. We can strike that one from the record there. Can you give me a brief summary of what you recall that day? Is that okay?
As long as it's not about any other person's statements,
Okay.
but his observations would absolutely.
Alright. We were dispatched to a shots fired, suicide call. We get there, trying to help. While trying to help, I meet you. Officer Chandler detains you. We escort you to further south on the lot. Shortly after that, you're undetained and you're making your way further south. Some incident happens at the end, or at in the apartment complex. Then we tried to de-escalate the situation. Shortly after, you're both detained again, and Officer Chandler comes back. That's as brief as I can make it.
Okay. Now, in your testimony just now, did you leave out anything that might be relevant in this trial?
I don't know what would or wouldn't be.
Do you recall Officer Chandler ripping his badge off while I was handcuffed in an attempt to cite violence?
He ripped off his badge. I don't know about the rest.
So you do recall Officer Chandler having me in handcuffs and ripping his badge off?
I don't recall you being in handcuffs. at that time.
After Officer Chandler put me in handcuffs, do you recall walking behind him, following him to another detainment position?
We escorted you to a different place where you were undetained.
During that walk, do you recall him ripping his badge off while I was in handcuffs?
I don't remember that part.
You don't remember that?
I remember he took out his badge, but that's not a question for me. I really just wanted to like help you guys get out.
During our initial contact, you and I,
Yes.
do you recall me being respectful to you?
Yeah, we had a great talk.
Do you recall me asking if every officer was okay, if anybody was hurt?
Definitely.
Do you recall me being disorderly in any way before Officer Chandler approached me?
No, not towards me.
Towards anybody?
Again, my focus went to two people,
you
and I was
recall?
going, yeah. To me, no.
First-hand knowledge of me being disrespectful, angry, yelling at all before Officer Chandler approached me?
To myself, no.
Okay. Do you recall how long it took before Officer Chandler slapped me in handcuffs?
I don't.
Would it be fair to say about 15 seconds?
It was a brief moment afterwards, not exactly what time.
Your Honor, I gotta use the bathroom real fast, really bad. I've been waiting for a minute. I don't know what happened here. Is there any chance I could do 2 seconds? I'll be right back.
5 minutes.
I apologize.
That's okay, let's go back on the record. We have Mr. Trelini present, Ms. Burns present for the state, and so Officer Aguilar on the stand, and you are in the midst of cross-examination. You may proceed.
All right, thank you. Okay, Officer Aguilar, do you recall when Officer Chandler finished up with the manager about 9 minutes, 16 seconds into your body cam, and he walks up and says, "What's your name? You're not allowed to be here per the management. If you refuse to leave, I'm gonna arrest you." Do you recall that?
Hearsay, Your Honor?
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, yes, I will sustain that, Ms. Sears.
About 9 minutes and 16 seconds into your body cam, did Officer Chandler ask me to leave?
Objection, Your Honor.
So I think this would be a good question for Officer Chandler.
Okay.
That would be hearsay asking Officer.
When Officer Chandler initially approached me, was somebody else asking him for his name and badge number constantly?
That's still gonna be hearsay.
Still hearsay?
So, you're gonna wanna ask Officer Aguilar his observations, but not as to other people's statements.
Gotcha.
His observations of other
Gotcha.
people's statements, that would be to ask those people directly.
Did anybody interrupt Officer Chandler and me during our initial encounter?
Did anybody interrupt our initial encounter?
Mine and Chandler's.
I don't believe so.
Was there anybody else there present beside me, you, and Officer Chandler?
Well, there was a multitude of people present at the scene.
Just in that little grouping. Was there another individual there with a camera?
We all have body-worn cameras.
Was there another individual there that wasn't an officer that had a camera?
Mr. Brown?
Mr. Brown, okay. Did you witness Mr. Brown saying anything to Officer Chandler?
I believe he asked for a PR, a name,
A PR? What is a PR?
badge number?
Mr. Brown, you did ask for a badge number?
Yes.
Your Honor.
So,
Okay,
again, I
sorry.
think it's gonna be hearsay.
Sorry.
Again, hearsay.
But you did witness another individual interrupt the conversation between me and Chandler?
I don't think it was much of a conversation, more than an advisory.
Okay, did you hear any lawful commands from Officer Chandler to me?
I think that's a question for Officer Chandler.
Did you hear any lawful commands?
He was directing himself to you, yeah, and I believe he asked you to.
Objection, hearsay.
So, again, we can't go into what Officer Chandler is saying. You can ask Officer Chandler those things, not Officer.
I'm trying to answer your questions at the best of my ability, man, I'm sorry.
You're doing fine, you don't have to apologize. Did you notice Officer Chandler get irritated and put handcuffs on me?
As to his emotional state, I can't answer that, that's not for me to say, but you were detained.
So you did witness Officer Chandler detain me?
Yeah, you were detained.
Okay. Did you notice any verbal commands before the detainment?
There was an exchange, yeah.
Was the verbal command lawful?
Objection.
That would go to my determination.
Okay, so in the short video that Miss Byrne just played, did you hear what Tyreek said?
Objection, he was not. Oh, when he was here? Just now?
When he was running, when you just played the video,
Oh, sorry.
when you were running towards
On the
Tyreek
second
Coleman.
video.
Huh?
Yeah, on the second video? The
Yes.
second portion?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you recall Tyreek stating anything?
I pushed him away and then he said something about like cops have been here twice. He was displeased at like whatever was going on.
Of course.
I don't know what was going on, but after the fact, whatever, everything, your guys' exchange was.
At any point out there on the public sidewalk, did you notice me trying to de-escalate the situation?
I was focusing on the person in front of me at that moment. He's a pretty big guy, and I think he does say he's law enforcement or something like that. There's no way for me like verify that. I don't know the guy, but I'm focusing on the threat in front of me. So no, I was paying attention to him and making sure he stays away.
Did Tucson Police Department do anything to investigate the assault that I witnessed that day?
That I don't know. That's not a question for me, because again, I was just trying to figure out what was his thing going on. From his terms, his son was his worry.
Did you hear me state he just assaulted him?
Objection, hearsay.
Okay, yep. I'll get better, I promise, at some point, probably when this is over. Sorry. Did you witness me run off of the property after my detainment?
Yeah, but to the means of you just getting out of the place. That's what I was honestly thought you were gonna do.
So you did witness me leave the property after a reasonable request to leave?
You were heading south on the property.
Okay.
Whether your goal was to get out of the property or not, I don't know what your state of mind at the time was.
You might be confused on as far as the question goes.
Sure.
Did you see me leave the private property to a public sidewalk after my detention and after the reasonable request to leave?
Yeah, I really wasn't paying that much attention to you after that.
Did you follow me running off of the?
I didn't follow you, I went to what was happening over there.
Why did you approach that situation over there? Why did you start to run?
Because I was told to go and help out.
Did you hear me yell back to you guys halfway off the I'm sorry, that's gonna be hearsay. Did you notice me call out for help to officers?
I don't believe so. Not help specifically, but you made it aware that something was going on.
Did you hear me say any, no, never mind. Scratch that. Let me just move on. Are you familiar with the maintenance man of that apartment complex, Mike Sagasta?
No.
Do you recall me stating anything about?
Objection.
Okay. Do you recall Mike Sagasta being mentioned that day at all?
You can answer that. It's your-
Yeah, you said something about visiting a friend.
Okay. Did you witness Officer Chandler rip my gimbal and phone out of my hand?
I don't remember that part. I do remember I was holding it for a while. I don't know if it was before or after. I think I even complimented on you.
Do you recall after I was handcuffed, Officer Chandler pulling up on my arm on our walk that you were following us?
I don't recall that.
Do you recall me being somewhat verbal about being hurt by Officer Chandler?
Yeah, I believe I took pictures. Yeah.
So you do recall that?
Yeah, you were verbal about it. You let Sergeant Dial know about it. I took pictures of where the handcuffs were placed.
Do you recall Officer Chandler stating, I'm sorry. Do you recall Officer Chandler walking me off the property?
We were moving you away from the scene at the moment,
Okay.
and we just went halfway. You had an exchange, and you were undetained.
Was that a crime scene?
Was what a crime scene?
The suicide, was it a crime scene there?
Your Honor.
I think it's relevant as to when and where he may have been asked.
There's the property, there's the apartment, and then there's the exit to the apartment, and that's rather large distance. So if you can be more specific as to where the,
Yes, so if you can be more specific as to where you were and, or where the incident that they were called out to was in relation to the property itself.
Okay. We can strike it from the record. I can move on with another question. Do you recall when Officer Chandler ripped his badge off?
I think you already asked.
Well, I was getting to another question here, but it's another hearsay, so let me skip that one as well. Do you recall Mark Brown stating that you were being live streamed?
objection, hearsay.
Ah, shit.
What else are you saying?
Do you recall in the middle of the apartment complex, Sergeant Dial and Officer Chandler giving me a reasonable request to leave the property?
Again, I think that's a question for them.
Do you recall it though?
I personally don't recall it.
Okay. Do you recall me invoking the Fifth Amendment?
I don't remember you saying anything.
Did you review any of your body cam footage before this trial date?
I did.
You did?
Yes.
All of these questions are right from your body cam.
Definitely. Oh, may I answer? Yeah.
Yes.
Body camera got unlocked very recently. I tried to review as much as I could, but it takes a long time to load for such a big video. So I reviewed as much as I could.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Do you recall Sergeant Dial? Oh God, another hearsay. Did Tyreek tell you guys he works for Pima County?
Objection, hearsay.
Did Tyreek decline to prosecute initially?
Yeah.
He did decline to prosecute.
Yeah, he said he just wanted you guys, not there.
What do you think, what enticed him to prosecute? that day?
Objection.
Okay,
That would be speculation.
that is speculation. No further questions for him.
Okay, any redirect?
Yeah, so, Officer Aguilar, you said that you were, training at the time, is that correct?
Yes.
And when did you realize that you put the wrong address on your report?
When, Mr. Tripoloni made me aware of it.
So, did you do it maliciously? Did you do it intentionally?
No, while training, you're taking as many calls as you can, and the best piece of advice I've gotten is like, if you think you need a report, you should make a report. I'm pretty sure I was swamped that week, but I just wanted to get my rounds in to make sure I practice with every report I have. I'm pretty sure that I looked up that report and that was actually another one, so I didn't check whether I put this address on the other one, but
Okay.
that was my mistake. But I let my sergeant know.
I'd like to object to this witness's entire testimony because he has no firsthand knowledge of me entering or remaining back on the property or being disorderly. So I don't see any reason of having this witness testimony even considered.
Well, he's testified about his observations of where you were on the property and his interactions with you, so I think that is relevant to any of the, elements of the charges here. And how he came to learn about putting the wrong address on his efforts to correct that, I think is all relevant, because it's all, going to this incident, and it would go towards his credibility. Okay. Any further questions?
Yeah, how much input do victims have, in relation to you as a police officer having probable cause and charging somebody with a crime? Is that something that the victims control? Do they have any say?
I'm gonna object. Calls for speculation. And it's a leading question as well.
I don't find that it's leading. I'll allow it from a policy standpoint and training standpoint. Okay, you can answer the question.
Could you repeat the question?
So, when you're, trained and in the field,
Yes.
as an officer, you should have or form a probable cause before you can charge somebody.
Yeah.
Do victims, being victims, have any input? If you find probable cause and the victim refuses to participate,
I object.
do you drop the case, or would that still be something that you can pursue because you, found probable cause?
I object. Form of the question.
Oh,
Okay. If,
go ahead.
okay, if I can answer it like this, even though a victim doesn't wanna prosecute, it happens a couple times where someone gets assaulted, they still don't wanna prosecute, or they just don't know who the person is, they don't wanna go through the whole thing. I will still document the incident and do as much as I can, right? Whether either party wishes to participate or not.
What does OPS stand for? I learned that recently.
I know, I'm horrible with acronyms.
Were you investigated by
Yes,
OPS?
I was. I actually call them IA, cause they used to.
Yeah, I
call
know, me
IA
too, but then
internal
I was
affairs.
told not in TPD, I was
Yeah.
like, okay.
Yeah, I did go to OPS.
Okay, did they ask you about the incident?
Yes,
Were you reprimanded in any way about this incident specifically?
I don't believe so, no.
No more questions, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, may this witness be excused?
Yeah,
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Officer Aguilar, thank you, you may be excused.
Thank you, Your Honor. Excuse me.
All right, we are just 15 minutes, well, actually less than, that clock is slow. We're about 10 minutes away from 5. I imagine we're gonna be able to get really very far into any additional witnesses.
totally not.
I think we should rest today and we'll come back at 8:45 tomorrow morning. Anything that either party would like to put on the record before we leave?
Just a question, I noticed that the court has a calendar tomorrow starting at 10. What
Yes.
can we expect in terms of,
So
Here.
we have from 8:45 to 10 here, because when we originally said it, Mr. Tripling said that he couldn't go past 10, so I filled in my docket after that.
I do still have the appointment at 10 a.m., but I told them that I may be late, so. Now, if we can't finish by 10 a.m. tomorrow, are we continuing for the following day, or are we gonna rush this thing?
No, we cannot continue for the following day because there is the judicial conference that I'm required to attend. We'll have to find another spot on another day that I have some availability.
Well, hopefully my case is good enough, we can just go right into a directive verdict.
good for you.
All right.
You can certainly, how many witnesses does the state have left?
I have Officer Chandler and Officer Dial.
Okay, so.
Mr. Mark Brown as well.
That's yours.
Okay, that's right.
yeah.
I apologize.
And-
So
and-
we have 3 witnesses potentially left, but you do have an opportunity to argue for a directed verdict at the close of the state's case,
Gotcha.
okay? So, but you have to let the state conclude their case before you. can
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, okay, then, we will be adjourned for today, we'll see you back here at 8:45.
Thank you,
All right,
Judge.
all right.
Thank you.